Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about stories in the clean energy world. Plug Power's CEO transition, the US Department of Energy pulling back funding, and what this all means for the future of hydrogen in America. Now, if you've been following Plug Power, you probably know the name Andy Marsh. He's been leading the company since 2008, nearly 2 decades steering one of the most ambitious hydrogen companies on the planet. But this week, the company made a big announcement. Marsh will officially step down as CEO next March. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, Marsh says this move has nothing to do with the DOE's recent decision to cancel billions of dollars in federal support for clean energy projects. According to him, this was all part of a long-term, carefully planned leadership transition that's been years in the making. So, what exactly is going on here? Let's unpack it. Plug Power has built its reputation on hydrogen, specifically green hydrogen, the kind made from water using renewable electricity rather than natural gas. They've been working to create an entire ecosystem, production plants, storage systems, and fueling infrastructure across the United States. For that mission, they secured a major $1.66 billion loan guarantee from the Department of Energy, along with tens of millions of dollars in smaller contracts to build hydrogen hubs. But recently, Washington decided to scale back or cancel parts of that support, a move that sent shockwaves across the entire clean energy sector. And yet, Marsh insists Plug Power saw this coming. He says the company began preparing earlier this year when they sensed political headwinds shifting. To brace for it, Plug rolled out a serious cost-cutting plan, including 261 layoffs, which helped trim up to $200 million in annual expenses. The message from Marsh is clear. The company will not be cutting more jobs because of DOE's funding change. He believes that while federal grants might slow down, individual states, especially California, can still carry on with their hydrogen projects. He also reminded everyone that Congress recently extended the federal fuel cell tax credit through 2032. In other words, not all the doors are closing. Marsh still sounds hopeful. He mentioned that the DOE's decisions can be appealed, and once the government shutdown ends and Congress resumes its budget discussions, there's a real chance some of that funding could come back. In his own words, it's not all that bad. There's the noise politicians make, and then there's what actually happens on the ground. And he's not exaggerating. Plug Power's already built a massive green hydrogen factory in Louisiana, and next week, Marsh himself is heading there to meet with Senator Bill Cassidy, yes, in one of the reddest areas in the country, to talk hydrogen. According to him, support for hydrogen isn't a partisan issue anymore. Plenty of Republican senators actually like the technology because it creates jobs and boosts energy independence. Now, let's talk about the leadership shift that caught everyone's attention. When Marsh steps down in March, he won't be leaving the company entirely. Instead, he'll move into a new role as executive chairman of Plug Power's board. Taking over as CEO will be Jose Luis Crespo, who's currently the company's chief revenue officer and the person behind some of Plug's biggest deals with Amazon, Walmart, and other global giants. Crespo has been instrumental in driving Plug's sales strategy, building an $8 billion sales pipeline that Marsh says will define the company's next phase. For now, Crespo's been promoted to president until the official transition happens. That title was previously held by Sanjay Shrestha, who had been with the company as chief strategy officer before becoming president. But he resigned suddenly on October 3rd, according to filings with the SEC. When asked about the timing, Marsh made it clear that this leadership shuffle wasn't a reaction to politics or the DOE situation. He emphasized that Crespo's promotion was a result of a long, deliberate process. Even though Crespo was an internal choice, he still had to go through a competitive interview process against several outside candidates before being selected. And there's another key point Marsh made. Crespo won't be taking over an empty bank account. Plug recently raised $370 million from existing investors and has the potential to bring in another $1.4 billion through future stock sales. That gives the incoming CEO a solid financial foundation to work with, a rare luxury in the clean energy business. As Marsh put it, he's got the money to execute on those plans now, and you can tell he really believes in Crespo. Marsh describes him as a born dealmaker, someone who not only brought Amazon into the fold, but has been negotiating contracts around the world to expand Plug's global footprint. Now, let's be honest. Plug Power hasn't yet turned a profit. That's something critics love to point out. But progress is undeniable. They're becoming one of the largest suppliers of green hydrogen equipment and technology worldwide, positioning themselves at the heart of a market that could be worth hundreds of billions in the next decade. So while some see the DOE's funding cut as a major setback, Marsh sees it as just another challenge in a business that's always been about patience, timing, and innovation. His departure might symbolize the end of one era for Plug Power, but it's also the beginning of another, where the company moves from building foundations to executing on a global scale. And as for Andy Marsh, he's not disappearing from the scene. As executive chairman, he'll still be guiding Plug's long-term vision while handing day-to-day operations to a man he clearly trusts. So, to sum it up, the leadership handover isn't about crisis, it's about continuity. Plug Power is adjusting, evolving, and betting big on hydrogen's long-term future, even when Washington wavers. Because at the end of the day, one thing's clear: hydrogen isn't just a political project, it's a technological race, and Plug Power intends to stay in that race, with new leadership, fresh capital, and the same mission they started with over 25 years ago. Subscribe to my channel. This is not financial advice.